Welcome back, drawing buddies. This week we're gonna draw the amazing Spider-Man from pencils to inks to colors. So if that sounds like a cool way to spend less than 20 minutes actually, then let's draw. Spider-Man Peter Parker, his first appearance was in Amazing Fantasy number 15 in 1961. They were canceling the Amazing Adult Fantasy book. They had one issue left, and Stan, after the success of the Fantastic Four, had this other idea for a teenage superhero. And I think the publisher at the time was his brother-in-law or brother or something, I don't know. One of those two, probably brother-in-law. And he wasn't too keen on the Spider-Man idea, but he's like, all right, man, we're canceling this Amazing Fantasy book, so you and Steve Ditko, he co-created Spider-Man, by the way. You guys take your little Spider-Man story and put it as a backup in this Amazing Fantasy book, and we'll see what happens. Well, what happened was everybody loves Spider-Man, and the rest is history. Brand New Day comes out on Friday, but I'll be going to see it on Thursday with a preview show with a friend of mine. And I've heard good things about it so far, so I am all kinds of excited. Now, while drawing Spider-Man, I should have stuck with my initial plans as always, but I overthink things. And while I really like this Spider-Man, if I stuck with that original pose I started with, it would have been just fine too. But we're still working on trust issues with myself and my drawing decisions, so we'll get there eventually. So this Spider-Man drawing is part of the Spider series that started with Gwen with the text backgrounds and everything, because I kind of like the look of it and I figured making it a series would be pretty cool. So Peter Parker, he's the last one I'm doing, surprisingly, but it's also because he's also the first video I ever did. If you go back to the very first FM3 Draws video, it's Spider-Man. This one's a lot shorter. I think that video is like over an hour and a half. Oof. Mostly because I was playing them back slower and everything, and I realized, oh, this is dry. So I started to speed them up a little more. But yeah, Spider-Man, he's always fun to draw. You know, you get to do cool things with his pose and kick him around and everything. And I'd like to say that my main Spider-Man influence is Todd McFarlane. And it is, but it's also got a lot of Eric Larson and some Art Adams. And as much as I hate to say it, Mark Bagley, because of all the Spider-Man I read when I was a kid, Bagley was the most. I jumped on the Spider-Man bandwagon late. My superhero comics, I started reading the X-Men. And from the X-Men, I found, Wolverine issues and stuff. And so I was reading X books. And since I was checking out superheroes, everybody in the world knows who Superman and Batman is and all that stuff. So I started reading Batman, and from there, I think my father told me when he was a kid his favorite hero was the Flash. So I started reading Flash, but it wasn't his Flash. It was Wally West, not Barry Allen. And I fell in love with the Flash. So the Flash was pretty much my main dude for a while. And so was Green Lantern. I gravitated more towards Green Lantern and Flash than I did Superman and Batman and all that stuff. So, and then when I got back to Marvel and I started checking out more Marvel books, I'm like, oh, Daredevil. And Daredevil hooked me. And Daredevil became my favorite of the superheroes. And then finally, probably around late 80s, early 90s, I finally got into Spider-Man. So, I got in at the tail end of McFarlane and the start of Eric Larson. And those weren't very long runs. And then Mark Bagley came in, and that's when I was full on reading comic books like it was my job. You got the first appearance of Carnage in there, and there's some good team-ups with the Punisher and Moon Knight and all kinds of fun stuff. So as much as I think Bagley was a step back as far as Spider-Man artists go, because he was more of that house style that McFarlane and Eric Larson were trying to get away from. And I'm sure Marvel was glad to get back to, which doesn't make sense to me because they never sold more Spider-Man books than when McFarlane and Eric Larson were drawing it, but that's on me. So Peter Parker was just a geeky teenager, and people picked on him. He wasn't very popular, and then he went on a field trip to some lab somewhere. I don't think it was Oscorp's, because Oscorp didn't exist when Amazing Fantasy 15 came out. That might have been retconned later, I don't know. I haven't read Spider-Man in a long time. And he got bit by a radioactive spider. And he woke up with spider powers. He could stick to walls, and he was faster and more agile and a heck of a lot stronger. He had a spider sense, which warned him of danger. And that was pretty much it. The web shooters he invented himself. Peter Parker is a very smart kid. They don't give him enough credit in the comic books for how smart he is, because they treat him as a broke teenager all the time, even though he's a grown-ass adult now. But he could be, actually, if they took him seriously and they advanced his scientific knowledge, he could be on a par with your Tony Starks and everything. But, then I guess that would take away from your Tony Starks and everything. But the kid literally invented web shooters and web fluid on his own in his bedroom in Queens. He didn't have a lab. He didn't have science stuff everywhere or the money. He literally did it on a broke high school kid's budget. So, that's saying something. That's like Iron Man building a suit of armor in a cave by himself, That's a pretty good feat. So Peter's really smart. I think they did actually in the 2016-17 series lean into him, his science smarts and everything, gave him a job in a lab or something, or he had his own business thing, but I didn't read it, so I don't know what happened with that. So if you guys know what happened with that series and why Spider-Man's a broke-ass teenager again, even though he's an adult, leave a message in the comments. Spider-Man, he's fun to draw, but man, those webs, they take forever. It's just little lines, and they always got to point. Well, they don't point down. I guess they swoop up, pointing down. I don't know how to describe it, but if you do the webs the opposite direction than I drew them, they look really bad. And I actually remember an interview with McFarlane talking about that once. He's like, yeah, Spider-Man, you got to draw his webs this way, because if you draw them the other way, they look really bad. So that's my terrible Todd McFarlane impression. I don't have the Canadian accent and all that stuff going with me. So most of this drawing is the pencils and figuring out the pose and all that stuff, because once I get that done, the inks go really quickly. The coloring is probably the fastest coloring in any video I've ever done. I think the total amount of time on the video is less than 4 minutes as far as coloring goes. The background, because I don't actually show me laying out all the text because that's boring, but I do show me coloring all the text and stuff, so I left that in there. And plus, when I do the text, I do it on my PC, the desktop, so I do it in Photoshop. Everything else I do in Clip Studio when I'm recording the screen. I'm sure I could record the screen doing the Photoshop thing, but then, I don't know. Maybe I'll try that next time I do something like that. Because next week, to keep on the Spider-Man movie theme, we're doing the Incredible Hulk. And it's a simple pose, and I got it in there really quick. And man, oh, hold on. The pencils are done. It is now time to ink the Amazing Spider-Man. So yeah, I'm drawing the Hulk yesterday. I just really got basic pencils done. And drawing the Hulk's face, my gosh, it was so darn hard. I drew like 4 heads for the Hulk until I got it right. So I'm not sure how I'm going to edit that together in a video. But I'm like, man, you can't just draw like a big old square draw head on the Hulk. It just looks like a big square drawn person. And if you color him green, it's like, yeah, it's the Hulk. But, it doesn't really look like the Hulk if you don't get his features right. And it drove me nuts, because I was looking at reference from Dale Keown, and I'm like, yeah, that's not working for me. And other ones, and, then there's like Eric Larson's Hulk, who just looks like a green person, which I don't like. And Todd McFarlane's Hulk was way too Frankenstein for me. And I ended up using an Art Adams face for my reference, which it doesn't really look like the Art Adams face, but the proportions are kind of there. Art Adams draws the Hulk more like a gorilla type character. So I went with that one. I don't know how I'm going to edit all those head drawings into the video, but I'll figure it out. Because it'll be long and boring to see me erase heads and draw new heads all over the place on the Hulk. I moved all the rooms around in my apartment, and the place where I record all this stuff, I put it in a bigger room, actually. And there's no real door on the room, which I got to put the barrier thing up. And for some reason, this room that I am recording this in is way quieter than the other one. And the other room is smaller. It has a door. And I don't understand why this room is way quieter than the other room, but I like it because there's not as much background noise filtering through the video. So if you notice an audio quality jump, it's because I moved everything and I'm recording in a room that is bigger, more open, no soundproofing at all, but for some reason is quieter. So, hey, who am I to complain, right? So inking Spider-Man's pretty straightforward. The only thing that takes any real time, of course, is the webs. Those darn webs. So I really started reading Spider-Man in, I want to say, late 80s, early 90s. There was a crossover. It was Spider-Man vs. Wolverine. It was a one-shot. I don't remember who the artist is. It's driving me crazy. I'm not going to look it up. But I have the book somewhere, and that's the first time I ever really read Spider-Man. And it was basically Spider-Man, for some reason, had to go on a trip. I think Jonah Jameson sent him over with the Daily Bugle, and he ended up in Germany. And while he was in Germany, he ran into Wolverine, and they had to solve whatever the mystery was. It had something to do with some girl who wanted to be unalive for some reason, and Wolverine was going to help her with that because they were old friends, and Spider-Man was like, no, that's not how this works. We don't let people do that kind of stuff. They got to solve their problems and live happy, long lives. And Wolverine's like, kid, you haven't lived the lives we have, so you don't know what the heck's going on here. And I remember it culminated in a big fight with them in a cemetery in Germany. And I remember the funny part of it was Spider-Man left his Spider-Man suit in the U.S. He didn't bring it with him. I think he was either worried about them searching his bag at the airport, or he just wanted to leave the responsibilities of Spider-Man behind for his trip and just be Peter Parker for once. And that's one thing I never figured out, is the spider on his chest. You know, you kind of lose it in all this webbing, and there's nothing around it, but that's on me. I probably should have used thinner lines for the webbing, and that would have helped the spider pop out more, but oh well. Too late now, because I didn't think of it till right now, and I'm recording the audio for the video. But yeah, so he left his Spider-Man suit behind because he just didn't want to be Spider-Man. He just wanted to enjoy his trip and do his job and not have to worry about the stresses of being Spider-Man. And when the whole thing goes down with Wolverine, he's like, damn it, I need a Spider-Man costume. And he sees one in a costume shop in Germany. And you know, it's obviously a costume grade suit. But he breaks into the place, he steals it, he leaves money, you know, he pays for it. But he can't just go in there and buy it, and then Spider-Man shows up and they know he's Peter Parker. So the funny part about it is, though, the suit being a Halloween costume basically is, it, you know, they draw it and it looks like he's Spider-Man. But on the back of the suit, inside the big red Spider-Man logo, it says Die Spinny or whatever it is. It's German for Spider-Man. And that was pretty damn hilarious because he's stuck wearing this kid's Halloween costume that says Spider-Man on the back of it and the little spider logo. And so at the end of it, Spider-Man in his bootleg costumes fighting Wolverine in the cemetery. And they're going at it. And Wolverine or whatever moves out of the way. And no. They're done fighting. And Spider-Man, he's all enraged. And the spider sense is heightened. And his emotions are heightened. And he's not in a good way because he's mad at Wolverine about this whole situation. And the woman who wants to unalive herself pokes him on the shoulder, and the spider sense thinks it's Wolverine, so he just turns around and punches her in the face. And Spider-Man ends up being the one helping the girl unalive herself, and it was a pretty dramatic moment. And it's like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And you know, plus this is like the 80s, so it's like, So that was my introduction to reading Spider-Man comics. Before that, I only really knew Spoke. Pause. The inks are done. It is now time to color The Amazing Spider-Man. So yeah, after I read that, I'm like, oh, Spider-Man's cooler than I thought. So I started buying Spider-Man comics. And weirdly, I didn't start just buying Amazing Spider-Man. I bought a few issues of Web of Spider-Man because Wolverine made an appearance, and then I started buying pretty much all the Spider-Man books that were out at the time. Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, all the Spider-Mans. And he became one of my favorite characters. And there's a reason why Spider-Man is so darn popular. In fact, I'm sure Brand New Day is probably going to make more money than James Gunn's Superman and Supergirl and Blue Beetle and, you know, probably his, what is it, his Suicide Squad movie? All put together. I don't know what it is about Spider-Man, but his movies sell. And Tom Holland's been doing a great job as Spider-Man, and I haven't heard anything bad about this movie yet. So, this is probably going to make $1.5 billion because, you know, it's Spider-Man. And then Marvel will be happy and make more movies. Kind of worried about Doomsday, though. That movie has to make like $3.5 billion or something stupid like that to break even. Although I don't really pay attention to the money things. I just go to the movies, try to enjoy them, and go from there. But yeah, I saw the Doomsday trailer, and I'm going to be there day one, so I don't think I'm hating on it. But, you know, nothing in the trailer made me go, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever. It just made me go, okay, yeah, Avengers movie, cool, I'm down. So we'll see where that goes. I saw that the Batman 2 got delayed for another year. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe that's because James Gunn's finally going to pull out his Batman and he didn't want two Batmen fighting with each other in the same year. So maybe Man of Tomorrow will finally feature a Batman cameo and build out Gunn's universe. And then after the other Batman comes out, we'll get that Brave and the Bold movie with Batman and Robin and all that stuff. Because I think James Gunn's Batman is going to finally be a less grounded, more fun Batman. But not more fun, I just mean more comic booky Batman. Because my problem with movie Batman is they always try to keep him super grounded and they don't lean into the fantastic parts about Batman. That's why when I argue with people about who would win in a fight, Captain America or Batman, in the comic books, Batman all day long. We could argue about it all you want, but I believe that Bruce Wayne would beat the crap out of Steve Rogers all day long in the comic books. They're both peak humans. I think Batman's better trained. He definitely has more experience because Steve Rogers spent most of his time on ice, and you know Bruce has been in the field pretty much since his early 20s, and he's been training all his life for this. Steve Rogers, he got a shot in the military, got some military training, and a few years in the army, and then he got frozen on ice for like 70 years, and then he came back, and then he's been active for maybe 10 years, 15 years. So I think Batman also has an experience edge on Steve Rogers. So even though Steve Rogers is way older than Bruce, Bruce has been at it longer because he's been active. He was never a block of ice for most of his life. But MCU Chris Evans, Cap, he will beat the crap out of any movie Batman. But yeah, so that's it, man. We're done with Spider-Man. Nice, quick Spider-Man video. I thank you all for coming along. Let me know what you think of Brand New Day in the comments if you see it, because this video will be coming out the day the movie comes out. So have a great week and go out and draw something.